Here's more wrestling news for May 24th, 2023, and we're starting off with AEW, and up until this past week, it seemed certain that CM Punk would be returning to TV next month, and that he would be returning as part of the new AEW Collision show. That was until Punk and AEW had different views on Ace Steel's future with the company, and whether he should be present at Collision tapings or be kept away from tapings and used remotely. Now Punk's future with Tony Khan's company is once again looking uncertain, but not all hope is lost for fans of the self-proclaimed voice of the voiceless. During Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer said that the deal with Punk is not dead, which is somewhat reassuring, but Meltzer also questioned what would happen if Punk returns and then quits. On tonight's Dynamite, Khan will officially announce the location for the premiere show, and many expect that this will be a sign as to Punk's status with the company. Should the show take place in Chicago as rumored, fans can expect Punk, but any other location is being seen as a sign that AEW doesn't want to deal with a pro-Punk crowd and him not appear. AEW picked Collision's roster with Punk in mind, choosing stars who are willing to work with him, but is Punk proving to be more trouble than he's worth? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Once again, Punk is making trouble for AEW behind the scenes, but things may not be as bad as first thought. Earlier this week, it was reported that AEW had taken to sending legal threats to Punk, demanding he be at Dynamite no matter what, but we now have an update on those reports. According to Fightful Select, those documents sent to Punk were not threats per se, but rather various contracts simply outlining what he is allowed to do should he return to programming. These papers covered subjects such as speaking about certain topics, disparagement clauses, and ensuring Punk's availability for scheduled TV dates, all of which you'd expect to find in contracts of less problematic wrestlers as well. These may not be the legal threats some believed earlier this week, but Punk's future on TV is far from certain, and on the latest Wrestling Observer Live, Brian Alvarez reported that the most recent news he'd heard is that Punk had not agreed to be on the premiere of Collision. After All Out, fans debated whether they'd ever see Punk on TV again, and while it seems more possible now than it did a few months ago, his return is far from a sure thing. With AEW Collision set to premiere on June 17th, all eyes will be on the ramp as fans wait for Punk to appear, and do you think CM Punk will be at the premiere episode, or will the show centered around the former world champion go on ahead without him? We've got some sad news to report now as wrestling veteran Peggy Lee has died at the age of 64. Lee entered the business in the 1980s and would play Peggy Lee Pringle in the AWA, the on-screen sister of Percy Pringle, who fans would later know in the World Wrestling Federation as Paul Bearer. In the AWA, Lee would feud with Medusa over the promotion's Women's Championship, and would feud with Medusa in WCW in 1997 over the often-forgotten WCW Women's title. Peggy Lee would not win either title, but would become NWA Women's World Champion, winning the title from Selena Bambi Majors in early 1994. A veteran of the WOW Women of Wrestling promotion, Lee would continue to work with the all-female show after her retirement in 2013, and we'd like to extend our condolences to those who knew her at this time. This weekend, WWE will host its Night of Champions event, the 9th show in the company's lengthy deal with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The show has a stacked card with Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, and Brock Lesnar all appearing, but it seems that WWE is not wasting any of the available seats on the plane. PW Insider is reporting that WWE is sending a lot of superstars who don't have matches to Saudi Arabia, including Omos, Karrion Kross, The Street Profits, L.A. Knight, and Rick Boogs. It's possible that these stars will just be around to help hype up the show, though there is still time for WWE to add more matches to the card featuring these wrestlers. Whether more matches get added, time will tell, but don't be surprised if there's a surprise or two featuring these superstars this Saturday at Night of Champions. On this week's Raw, Cody Rhodes was demolished by Brock Lesnar, and it was made clear during a segment with Triple H that the American Nightmare is dealing with a broken arm. That's at least the story WWE are telling, and while Rhodes has vowed to fight the Beast Incarnate at Night of Champions this weekend, this may be the last we see of Rhodes for some time. As pointed out on Wrestling Observer Radio, if WWE does intend for Rhodes to be dealing with a broken arm, then he'll need some time off to quote-unquote recover from the injury, but it's unclear how long WWE would go without their top babyface. WWE's next premium live event after Night of Champions will be Money in the Bank, and we imagine the UK fans are eager to see Rhodes in action after he was legitimately injured last year and missed Clash of the Castle. We should have a clearer picture on Rhodes' future after Night of Champions, and we'll have to see just how serious WWE will be treating this so-called broken arm. When Cody Rhodes returned to WWE, he did so with the theme Kingdom by Downstate, the same theme he used on the indie scene and for 3 years as part of AEW. For WWE, it was a wise move, reminding fans that the heart and soul of All Elite Wrestling had jumped ship to their company, but this return with this theme almost didn't happen. Speaking to Chris Van Vliet of Insight, Downstate's lead singer Zach Call said that there was a legal battle between the band and WWE over the rights to the song, which nearly cost Rhodes his theme. I don't want to give away too much about how Cody Rhodes was able to use Kingdom in WWE, but we were aware that Kingdom was coming, and we were in a little bit of a legal battle, and Cody Rhodes is absolutely the f***ing man. We were on the phone with lawyers and agents and WWE's lawyers and composers before, and we have been with them since 2009. And we all have regular jobs, and we just wanted our cut of the pie on this one. We know what happens when we're not Joan Jett, we're not Living Color, but when you use a real song, they get paid, those artists get paid. It's not a part of WWE's work, and this is a song that we wrote. Fortunately for the band, Cody was on their side and made it clear to WWE that his return would be with the song and that Downstate would be appropriately compensated for its usage. It all worked out for WWE, with the theme being a hit with fans who sing along to the track whenever Cody Rhodes makes his entrance, but things were nearly much different for the American Nightmare. Over to Raw now, as this week's show was the go-home episode before Night of Champions, with WWE doing all they can to sell their latest event in Saudi Arabia. The show saw the likes of Cody Rhodes, Brock Lesnar, and Seth Rollins all appear, but none of them wrestled, and we may now know why. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select reports that there were brand new rundowns for Raw shortly before Raw went on the air, but it wasn't noted what changes were made or how much of the 3-hour show was overhauled. Interestingly, one WWE talent who wished to remain anonymous speculated that the changes were implemented by Vince McMahon, but Fightful made it clear that they haven't been able to confirm that at this time. Ever since the post-WrestleMania 39 episode of Raw, which has been deemed the worst post-Mania Raw in history, McMahon has taken a step away from making decisions about the on-screen product. If McMahon did make the changes, we doubt anyone in WWE, whether they're a superstar or a backstage hand, will come forward and admit it. And what did you make to this week's Raw? Share your views in the comments. During New Japan's recent Resurgence event, Mercedes Moné suffered a serious leg injury that resulted in her calling an audible and the result of the NJPW Strong Women's title match being changed. Rather than Moné winning the gold as planned, the title is now around the waist of Willow Nightingale, and it's since been claimed that she is dealing with a broken ankle. An injury like this is the last thing a wrestler wants, but when speaking on his Hall of Fame podcast, Booker T made it clear that he's hardly surprised that Moné got hurt. These young guys today, they're so over the top. They can do just about anything, and they're willing to push themselves just about as far as they can possibly go. So I'm not surprised or anything like that. Just bad timing for Moné because she's, right now, talk of the town. Everybody's talking about Moné, and then you have a broken ankle, which is your wheel right there. That's your base. You have to take some time off. As for how much time Moné will need off, that's difficult to say, but Booker predicted that she'll be out of action for at least 3 to 6 months. Since leaving WWE under controversial circumstances, Moné has been able to keep herself in the public eye, and we're wishing the former IWGP Women's Champion all the best on her recovery. And we're ending today with NXT Battleground, as this weekend's event is coming together nicely. The show will see the crowning of a new NXT Women's Champion, given that Indy Hartwell vacated the title when she was drafted to Raw, and we now know who will be competing for the gold. In the opening match of this week's NXT, Lyra Valkyria defeated Cora Jade in the semifinals of the tournament, while Tiffany Stratton bested former champion Roxanne Perez in the main event. Now Stratton and Valkyria will compete at Battleground to see whose name will be added to the record books alongside Charlotte Flair, Bayley, Asuka, and Mandy Rose, and who do you want to see walk away as champion at NXT Battleground?